up? It's Lucy here. I'm excited to be with you this morning. I've got my little dry erase marker. We're gonna write stuff up on the board. We're gonna do a lot of fun stuff today. So you guys, you need to buckle in your seatbelts, and get ready to roll, because today is gonna be action-packed and we have a lot of stuff to cover. Well, I can't believe we're already almost midway through July, which means school is gonna start up next month. I can't believe it. That is insane. Just wanted to let you guys know I'm praying for you. I love you guys. And we are opening up the church in August. And so hopefully I'll get to see some of you guys then, which would be really awesome. So last week, do you guys remember what we talked about? We talked about a new series we're in called Psalms, Proverbs, and Parables. So the 3 P's, Psalms, Proverbs, and Parables. Now, Psalms and Proverbs are 2 books of the Bible. Parables are actually stories that Jesus teaches. So we'll go into that a little bit later. But this week, we are continuing in Psalms, learning what kind of wisdom principles or wisdom lessons we can learn from the book of Psalms. So last week, our wisdom principle was have an attitude of gratitude. Do you guys remember that? And we made a silly song. Well, this week, our wisdom principle is that God's name is highest. You guys read that? God's name is highest. And we're gonna get into what that actually means first. So the author, the guy who wrote the book of Psalms, well, most of it, is named David. Do you remember David? He defeated Goliath. He was the small shepherd boy. He then eventually became king. He was a man after God's own heart. David was a really important character in the Old Testament. Remember how the Bible is split up into 2 parts. The Old Testament, which is everything that happened before Jesus was born, and the New Testament, which is what happened when Jesus was born onward. And that's kind of how it's split, old and new. Old covenant, the old promise, the old way of doing things like animal sacrifice, to the new promise, the new covenant, which is Jesus coming and dying on the cross for us, so we don't have to do that anymore. So that's kind of how the Bible is broken up. We're looking into Psalms, which is full of poetry and just beautiful metaphors, little nuggets of wisdom. It's almost like reading journals or reading someone's songwriting notebook that they had back then. So in Psalms 148:13, which we learned last week, that Psalms is actually the longest book in the Bible. See if your parents know that. Ask them, hey, do you know what the longest book in the Bible is? Let's see if you can outsmart them. So Psalms 148:13 says, let them praise the name of the Lord, because his name is high above all others. His glory is above heaven and earth. So today we're going to talk about how God's name is highest. Now, what does that even mean? I mean, does it just mean he has the tallest name? He's like taller than a building or something? That doesn't make any sense, right? So I have a couple examples of what it is. We're going to break that down. So have you guys learned in school yet what a synonym and antonym is? A synonym is a word that is similar to the word we are trying to describe. An antonym is the opposite of the word. So let's do a test run. What is a synonym, or a word that is similar to the word squishy? Maybe soft, maybe moldable. What's an antonym for the word squishy? Maybe hard, sharp, solid, something like that, right? So let's do one with highest or high. So what is a synonym for the word high? We have it right here, high. So what is a similar word for the word high? Maybe what? Tall. In the Bible, synonym for the word high means great, like the greatest. Great. High. Think about like a high priest in the Bible is the priest that has the most power, right? So power. High also means authority. So like if you think about authority in your household, like who would be the highest? Yeah, your parents, right? Both your mom and dad. So authority, right? So those kind of give us a clue of what it means when we say God's name is the highest. So his name is the greatest, his name is the most powerful, and his name has the most authority, okay? So that's what it means when we say God's name is the highest. It's the greatest of all. Highest meaning it's above every other name. So every other name, every other person, authority on this earth has to bow down or has to come under submission or obey the highest name, which is Jesus, right? It's God. Okay, so I wanted to show you an example of what it means to be the highest, how God's name is higher above every other name, how he has the most authority. So I thought I would do this with an example of our army. So I've made a Goldfish Army to show you guys today, and I wanted to explain kind of what that looks like. So each one of these fish represent a soldier in the army. So these little guys are privates, okay? So that's like the most basic, the first position you get in the army. This little group is what we call a squad. So like a squad of soldiers. And this little guy who is in charge of this squad, oh gosh, I keep messing up on my fish. This guy who's in charge of the squad, he is a sergeant, okay? So if you put 3 squads together, then that equals a platoon. So you come over here, we have 3 squads, 1, 2, 3, and 3 sergeants, 1, 2, 3. And over the 3 sergeants is this guy who is a second lieutenant. So it goes a lot from one guy being in charge of 6 to one guy being in charge of 6, 12, 24, 25, 26, 27. So this guy is over 27 people, while this guy's just over 6. So this is a platoon, and this is a squad. Now, the next level up is a company, okay? So a company of soldiers, or you could say a troop of soldiers, is 3 of these guys put together, which you get this little Goldfish Army. Man, I wish you guys were here to help me eat all of these. So anyways, we have 3 platoons put together. So here's 1 platoon, 2 platoons, 3 platoons, and put all together. Look at that. There's 9 sergeants put in place. There's 3 second lieutenants. And then at the top, there is the major, okay, or the captain, there, depending on the different things. So as you can see, as things progress, each fish at the top is over more and more and more fishy soldiers. So much so that it gets to be the general of the army, okay, is over 50,000 soldiers. 50,000. So this kind of ranking keeps going up and up and up until one person is over 50,000 soldiers, which is a ton of people. I can't even imagine putting 50,000 fish in this room. It would take up the whole entire room. So just as the general is the highest rank in the army, over 50,000 soldiers, Jesus' name is the highest rank over the whole entire universe, over millions of people. His name is the most powerful. His name has the most authority. Just like this fish at the top has the most authority and can command any of these fish to do whatever he wants. Jesus' name has the most authority, okay, over all the earth. All right, I want to show you guys something else. Okay, so here we have kind of a really ridiculous reenactment of a story in the Bible that I'm going to tell you guys. So I thought it'd be much more fun if I did it with these little people instead of just reading it to you. So here we have Saul, okay, King Saul. He looks very kingly. And then here we have good old David, all right? So David was the guy who wrote the book we're talking about, which is the book of Psalms. And this is Saul. So I'm going to read you guys this story. And when I say, in troubled times, my hope is in God, I want you to say it with me, okay? So let's practice a couple times. In troubled times, my hope is in God. Okay, so here we go with our story. So David has been anointed as the future king. Ta-da! But it would be many years before this came to be. In the meantime, Saul was still king. Saul decided to give David an important job as leader of his army. So here's the army. David's in charge. David became popular with his people. Whoa, David, you're so cool. Yeah, we love you. You're an awesome leader. Yeah, David, you're so cool. David, I want to be your friend. He became so popular that the people liked David better than Saul. And they would start singing, Saul has slain his thousands, but David his tens of thousands. This made Saul really angry. David killed his tens of thousands, and they're only giving me credit for killing thousands of people? Soon he grew jealous in his heart, and this jealousy turned to anger and then to revenge. The more popular David became, the more Saul wanted to kill him. Oh! Look, here he is becoming more and more and more popular with all the people. David continued to have his hope in God despite Saul's murderous plans. In troubled times, my hope is in God, David would say. When Saul died, there, he died. When Saul died, David became king. Here's David, he's king now. But David's troubles didn't end. As king, he faced his share of battles against neighboring empires. David fought against the Philistines, bringing them to their knees. And he would say, in troubled times, my hope is in God. He fought and defeated Moab. Let's pretend that these people are now Moab, which was a nation at the time. Wah, 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 wah. And even then, when he won that great battle, David said, in troubled times, my hope is in God. David battled the king of Zobah, capturing thousands of chariots. Here's a couple chariots. This one. Look, they're riding in chariots. We just don't have horses to pull them. So he captured thousands of chariots. You have to go in here, you chariot, into this fake living room I have constructed, for I have captured you. God gave David victory after victory, and wherever he marched, and when he was old, David's sons were given important jobs too, in the highest positions, close to their father, the king. So here's one son. Oh, look. And here is another son, and here is another son. There, Saul's dead. But one of David's toughest challenges was when one of these sons, Absalom, conspired to take over his dad's royal rule. Hey, brothers, I want to take over dad's position, and I want to become king. Now, Absalom convinced the people to declare him as king instead of his father. Wow. David had to flee from Absalom for his own safety. Oh no, I must go. My son is taking over my throne. Ah! But even then, David still said, "In troubled times, my hope is in God." David wrote many of the Psalms we read in our Bible today, including this one, Psalms 3, 1 through 8. "Lord, how many foes I have! How many rise up against me! Many are saying of me, God will not deliver him. But you, Lord, are a shield around me, my glory, the one who lifts my head high. I call out to the Lord, and he answers me from his holy mountain. I lie down and sleep, and I wake again, because the Lord sustains me. I will not fear, though tens of thousands assail me on every side. Arise, Lord, deliver me, my God, for the Lord comes for my deliverance. May your blessings be on your people." David knew that God's name was higher above any enemy, higher above any trouble that he faced, because in troubled times, David's hope was in God. Now, we might not face the troubles David faced, but we can learn from his example. So no matter what trouble is in your life, remember that our hope can be in God, because his name is higher above every other name. Now, real quick, I want us to write on the board maybe every single thing that worries or troubles us. So I think a big one that is on everyone's mind is COVID, right? Or the coronavirus. So we can write that on there. COVID. Maybe returning to school. We don't know exactly what that will look like yet. To school. Maybe just like bullies at school, right? Bullies. Maybe some of the racial tension in our country right now, if you kind of know what's going on. So let's just put unrest, or maybe equality. Okay, so sickness, people who are mean, right? Some enemies, just worries about the future, worries about people not being treated as they should. Okay, there's a lot of stuff to worry about right now in the world. But the thing that is more powerful than sickness, disease, enemies, anything our future could hold, or where we're at presently, is Jesus. Okay? His name is not only above all these things, but is more powerful. And in fact, in the Bible, God has several different names. Did you guys know that? I think it's pretty cool. In Hebrew, he has several different names that describe who he is. And these names kind of help us realize the character of God and who he is in times of trouble. So I wanted to share some of these names with you today, and I'll put them up on the screen. The first one of his names is Elohim. Elohim. And that means creator. Okay? Ascribe to the Lord the glory due his name. Worship the Lord in the splendor of his holiness. So he is created. He created our bodies. He created this world. So we don't have to fear, because he is all powerful over all creation. The next is healer, which in Hebrew, that's Yahweh Rapha. Psalms 103 says, "Praise the Lord, my soul, and forget not all his benefits, who forgives all your sins and heals all your diseases." So we don't have to be afraid of COVID. Do we need to be smart? Yeah, wash our hands and wear masks when it's appropriate, but we don't need to live in fear, because Jesus is the ultimate healer. He has the most powerful healing name on earth. The next is shepherd, Yahweh Rohi. "The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing," says Psalms 23, verse 1. So, with God being our shepherd, we don't have to be afraid of the future, because the shepherd is the one who leads us down the right path, who takes care of us, right? So we can place our future in his hands, knowing that he has authority over our future. He is all powerful over our future. His name is high. The next is mighty. El Eloah. Psalms 18:32. "It is God who arms me with strength and keeps my way secure." So We don't have to be afraid of bullies. We don't have to be afraid of people who are mean, because you know who's mightier, who's more powerful than those bullies? Jesus. And that doesn't mean he's gonna come and punch him in the face or something, even though maybe that's what we would selfishly want sometimes. But that means that God has it under control and he's going to protect us, okay? Things are gonna happen and that stinks, but God is the mightiest, so we don't have to be afraid, all right? Last couple more in here. Everlasting. God is everlasting. El Olam. Psalms 91-2. Lord, you have been our dwelling place throughout all generations. Before the mountains were born, or you brought forth the whole world, from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. So he is everlasting. You know what's not everlasting? COVID. You know what's not everlasting? Returning to school or unrest in our country. All those things are going to fade away. But you know what's most powerful and most everlasting? The name of Jesus. Okay? So he has the highest name. He has the most powerful name. He has the name with most authority. And so it's that name that we can call upon when we need help, when we are in trouble. When we're afraid, we can trust in him because he has the most authority and his name is the greatest above every other name. Okay, so in closing, what I thought would be fun is if we made the tallest possible towers that we could with using things around our houses, and then realizing even though that's the tallest, we could make it with the stuff we had. God's name is higher. It's higher than our house. It's higher than the tallest building in the world. It's higher than the earth. He's higher than outer space. God's name is higher. He's more powerful. He's creator. So we can put our trust in him. And that's what our wisdom principle for today is God's name is highest. All right, here is a video of me making the tallest possible tower that I can. All right, you guys ready to see the tower I built? Ta-da! It's super tall. I actually had to stop, not because of it's gonna fall, but because my ladder wasn't tall enough. And that's like a 10-foot ladder. Look, it almost touches the bar right up there. That was actually a lot of fun. Maybe in your backyard, you could try and build the tallest tower you possibly can. See how high it can get. And then just remind yourself, wow, God's name is higher, more powerful, greater. It's above all else. And that's why we worship him. All right, you guys, have a great week.